Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the ATI TEAS exam and my experience going in, how I prepared for it, how I scored well, and just resources that I recommend to you guys to use. I wanted to start this video though with just like a general disclaimer. I'm currently in college right now. I'm a junior at Texas A&M, so I am seeing math and science and reading English currently like in my life, and I know that's not the same for a lot of people. Some people are returning to nursing school much later in their lives, or English is their second language, and some of the materials are going to vary, and what's easy for you may not be easy for me, and other way around. So I just wanted to give that general blanket statement there. But I did score in the exemplary range on my first attempt, and I took it in January. Right now it's my spring break. I meant to film this much earlier, but a lot has happened in my life since then, and it's just been really crazy. But I really wanted to sit down and make this video because I know that it's something that helped me a lot, and I want to help you guys too. So I did score in the exemplary range for my exam, and my best subject was math. I got 100 in the math section, and then my lowest score was reading, and I actually got an 85.1 in reading, which was really surprising to me because I usually do very well in English and reading, and then like not as well in math and science. But this test was like completely the other way around, so I just want to give some advice and stuff on what I used. So I'm just going to talk about reading first because that was my lowest section. I used Carolyn McAllister's YouTube videos, and they were awesome. She does a really good job of like kind of dumbing it down to like what's important, what you need to focus on. She recommends not reading the whole reading passage, and an 85 is a good score. So I mean, it was my worst score, but it's a very good score. So I'm not knocking her videos. They were great. I definitely don't know what I would have gotten if I didn't watch those. So I actually spent a lot of time on the reading sections. I saw a lot of comments on Facebook and stuff about how that's the worst section for so many people, so I really wanted to pay attention to that when I took my exam. So I used her videos, and I also just did like practice questions that I found for free online. I did not spend a penny on materials for this test because my application, the test itself, everything was just so expensive. I really could not afford to be buying any more things. So I actually borrowed I borrowed a book from a friend, and then I also watched YouTube videos and just Google searched like crazy. So I literally Googled like free ATI TEAS study materials, and took a lot of practice tests online, watched a lot of YouTube videos like I mentioned. So Carolyn McAllister has like a 20 video series of like each component of like what you really want to prioritize when studying for the reading, and that helped so much. I didn't even know about her videos until like 10 days before my test, and I like binge watched them and really paid attention to what she was saying. She's also a great resource if English is not your first language because she speaks very slowly and explains every aspect. So if it's something that you're very used to, it could be because she's trying to prioritize also those students who may not know English or may not have gotten as much experience with English and reading that you have. So I really appreciate her for making those videos. That's super awesome that she does that. And they definitely helped me so much when I took my test. So I mostly used her for reading. For English, I thought was gonna be like super easy. Like I'm a big like grammar nerd. I love like editing people's essays. Like I'm very big on writing. And it was actually my second lowest score. But it was still a good score. I don't want to say all of my scores because y'all are going to be able to figure out what I got overall. So it was my second lowest, so it was better than my reading score, but it was a lot more challenging actually than I thought it would be. So I used free resources online, and I feel like the test was a little bit harder than those. So if you're struggling with any of those practice tests and stuff that you're finding online, I would really focus on English and make sure that you're learning that. Because in my experiences with the other sections, I felt the actual test was easier than the resources, but not exactly for English. So definitely make sure to prioritize that. They're really big on like just sentence structure and just grammar rules, but they'll make all the answer choices look good and look correct. So it's kind of hard to narrow it down in my opinion. Moving on to science, I guess was my second highest, which is really surprising. I actually was panicking during my test. Actually, I don't want to use the word panicking because I was not panicking. But I was very stressed during my test, like praying that I would pass this section because I felt very good after the reading and math. It was like reading, math, science, and English. And I felt really good after those first 2 sections. And so I was like, please make this a passing score so that my overall score is like passing, like so I'm passing all my sections. Like I was hoping the other sections would hold me up. Like I was just so worried. And then I ended up doing very well on that section. So it's like super surprising. I was so excited when I saw my score. But yeah, so what I did for the science section is I just read the book that I'm using, which I'll show you the book in a second. I read that book word for word, like every single page, took notes on it. Like at night, like there were some days that I was working like 12 hours and I had some things to do for my online classes. And then I would just like, before I go to bed at night, sit down, open the book and just like read for 45 minutes before I went to sleep. Like if that's all the studying I could do all day, that's what I did. And I was just reading. And it's mostly like biology, like cell biology, like that kind of stuff that I was focusing on, because it's just like so commonly asked and it's like things I've learned like 1,000 times. I just forget it every time. So like a lot of cell biology that I was focusing on. And then this book also had a lot of chemistry and physics in it. I think that scared me a little because I was expecting to have to like relearn chemistry. I took it 2 years ago, so it's not like it's been a long time, but it was definitely my worst subject. So I was focusing on chemistry and physics, and when I actually took the exam, I felt like all of the chemistry and physics that I saw on there was stuff that like I could either figure out with just knowing math, or just watching like a really basic chemistry video. So I would not stress out too hard about that. And just try to focus on biology, because those can get in depth, like biology, anatomy, that kind of stuff gets really tricky, especially because they get down to such a specific level that it's like if you didn't study that, you're just not going to get that answer right. So for science, I watched a lot of Mometrics videos online. I think that's how you say it at least, but they have every section of the test on their YouTube account, but I used it mostly for science. And just like read every single section of the science materials. They like put in their description like this section's going to be about DNA, this section's going to be about anatomy, like whatever. And I just took notes and watched those and took notes in my book. So those definitely helped me so much, especially the anatomy reviews. I would really focus on biology and anatomy. Like I cannot stress that enough. Anatomy and biology are like your number 1 priority when you're studying for the science section. So that's what I used for that. And then my highest section was math, and I can't really say too much about math. I'm actually like currently in college. I'm a junior at Texas A&M, so like I'm doing math still, like I'm still taking classes and applying to nursing school. So math isn't something that's been like a distant thing for me. If you're like returning to school after a lot of time away, or like you've had kids since then and it's just been a lot, math will be a little bit trickier for you. But for me, like I remember enough from high school to like do that section. What I did to prepare for it is I did the practice tests at the end of my book, and I was getting those all right, and then I was doing the same thing online, and I just kept getting them right to the point where I was like, okay, I really need to focus my energy somewhere else. And that paid off for me because I did get a perfect score in math. I guess what I recommend doing if you are not seeing those results is just practicing like so many math practice questions. I feel like that's the best way to learn math. It's mostly like algebra, pretty basic probability, like don't get too complicated with it. Just like area, perimeter, like a little bit of basic geometry. So yeah, a lot of people recommend watching Brandon Kraft, and I'll link his channel down below. But that is what people sent me when I told them that I was making this video. They said Brandon Kraft all the way. So I'll go ahead and link Brandon Kraft and also Carolyn McAllister for reading. I'll link both of those in the description box so that you guys can also watch their videos if you need help on those sections. And yeah, those are all the resources. I'm reading off my note card of all the resources that I had. And then I used this book to prepare. It's the ATI TEAS Test Study Guide 2017. I believe there's a more current version out there, but this is my friend Bridget's, and thank you Bridget and Paige for letting me borrow this. But yeah, so I used that, and it honestly helped me so much. I thought the actual test was easier than some of the content I was reading and just like stressing about. So yeah, so definitely recommend that book. Also, there's a Facebook group where people are posting the books that they're using and stuff on there. So I'll go ahead and link the Facebook group down below. They do post a lot. So if you do not want to see stuff about the TEAS constantly on your like social media and stuff, don't join that group. But if you really feel like you would benefit from seeing people's scores and like what they used and stuff, definitely recommend that Facebook group. I joined it like 5 days before the test and I liked it. It just kind of stressed me out a little because every time I wanted like a break and wanted to get on my phone, I would just see like the test everywhere and it kind of stressed me out. But in the end, most people will like post their score report at the end, which I did that too, and kind of just like put a breakdown of like what you recommend prioritizing. So that was my experience with the TEAS. Yeah, I guess that's all that I have for this video. I'm just going to give a few more blanket general statements. I recommend eating breakfast before your test, getting comfortable, making sure you don't wear like anything with like letters on it or like jewelry with letters on it, whatever. They're really strict about that at testing centers. Like my friend had to take her gibbets out of her Crocs. So yeah, so just don't wear anything that is gonna make you have to change. So yeah, just be comfortable, show up early, take a good time eating your breakfast. Like don't study a bunch the day before. I watched one like Crash Course Anatomy. Oh, that's one more thing. Crash Course Anatomy, 10 out of 10 recommend. But yes, I watched Crash Course Anatomy a lot, and I watched one the morning of my exam, which was just me being paranoid. I ended up not even having a question that had anything to do with the video I watched. But yes, so just take care of yourself. You're gonna do great. I know a lot of programs and a lot of other YouTube videos I saw were like saying like, hey, like take the test once without studying and see how you do and then like try to improve from there. I didn't do that because first off, the test is really expensive and a lot of schools don't allow you to like take it that many times. Like they'll only take 2 scores or whatever, like depends on what state you live in and what school you're applying to and everything. So I just took the test one time and studied for 2 months before. So, I mean, it's really up to you how you decide to go about that. It's just not something that I personally wanted to do or would recommend to anybody. I took the test one time and did well, and I know that's not everyone's experience. Some people like fail the first time and then they want to take it again, and I get that. I just wouldn't take it cold, if that makes sense, because it's a lot of money and that can also really stress you out. Like it can be really disheartening to see a very low score and not know how you're going to recover from it. So yeah, so just I recommend just taking it, studying for it, just taking care of yourself. It's not meant to be like the worst test ever. It's not meant to be like the MCAT. It's not meant to like completely destroy you. It is very doable. You just have to like know exactly what they want, and their categories tend to be pretty specific. So just like knowing what is going to be on the test by like looking at practice tests and looking at as many practice questions honestly as you can, to get a good idea of like what they're going to be asking you. And there's a lot of free resources online, so you do not need to break the bank over this exam. So yeah, I do want to make more videos about like my nursing school application experiences so far. I submitted an application for one nursing school so far. They have an early application cycle, so I'm going to hear back from them soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to be taking the HESA yet or not. Kind of just gauging like where I get accepted and like where I still need to apply and everything. It's just been a crazy semester. I took this test in January. I got appendicitis the next week and got my appendix taken out, and I've just been like missing a lot of school and recovering, and it's finally spring break and it was finally time for me to sit down and make this video for y'all. So if you have any like video recommendations or questions for me, please comment those down below. I really love answering people's questions. I have my notifications on my phone, so I see those questions as soon as you ask them, and I try to respond ASAP. And if there's anything else you would like to know about this test, please comment down below as well. I know that also you can get some of those questions answered on the Facebook group, and if you comment on Carolyn McAllister and Brandon Craft's videos, there's other people who will post their experiences and their recommendations on there as well. So I think that's it. I hope you guys have a very good testing experience, and don't beat yourself up too much on this. It's a standardized test, and some people don't test well, some people test great, and it really does not define everything on your application. You still have your personal statements and your GPA or whatever else your school will ask of you. And yeah, this test is not meant to define you. No test defines you. And yeah, you're gonna be a great nurse one day. So thanks for watching.